All right, baby, we're live. We are alive and we're live. Oh, Scott knows what I'm talking about. Little Eddie Vedder. We're alive and we're live. You feel me? Just waiting to connect to Facebook, letting it breathe. You know how we have to do it. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, the Denver Broncos have a phenomenal opportunity this week with the New England Patriots on bye to fully seize, with the tiebreakers and everything, the number one seed in the AFC. But break down why this game in particular is so important to achieving that.
The exact science, Chad, I would have to pull it up, but I can tell you off the top of my head it has something to do with common opponents in the AFC. So if the Broncos beat the Raiders on Sunday, an AFC opponent, it doesn't matter what happens over the course of the rest of the season. If the Broncos and Patriots end up with the same record, the Broncos will get the 1 seed and the postseason will through Empower Field. How exciting is that?
That's what we want to hear, baby. That's what we are here for. And look, people will say, oh, the Broncos are one of the surprises of the 2025 season, even though I think most people paying attention to the NFL fully expected the Broncos to at least be competitive for the playoffs. But the New England Patriots, I don't think anybody saw coming with this run that they've been on. And the Broncos can kind of head them off at the pass, though, and continue to control the destiny of the 1 seed by taking care of the Raiders on Sunday. And Zack, other news real quick, not exactly earth-shattering, but what did you make of Garrett Bolles being named the Walter Payton Man of the Year guy for the Broncos?
It's a deserved honor for him. I know it has less to do with his on-field play and more to do with him as a teammate and a locker room guy and him with the community. And it's well deserved because he's been the longest tenured Bronco now, or one of them, Chad. And he's been with them through thick and thin, a lot of losing seasons. He's finally tasting some success now. So I'm happy for him, but I'm really hoping he gets that Protector of the Year award at the end of the year.
And for what it's worth, this is actually the second time he's been the Broncos Man of the Year nominee. So kudos to Garrett Bolles, but I'm with you. I want that Protector of the Year. It's going to be hard to seize it. It comes down to him and Andrew Thomas, I think, for the Protector of the Year. And it might go to whichever player's team kind of goes farther. And right now that's looking like it's going to be Bolles and the Broncos. But obviously, Papa Bear, what's going on, big dog? Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. It's not an MHH podcast without the Papa Bear in the house. So thank you, my friend. He says, good evening, Broncos country. # God bless the USA and 13-4 plus. I got a kick out of it last night, Zack. I did a co-host with Luke on MHI, and I got to explain what the plus means and blew some minds.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. It also wouldn't be an MHH pod without Michael Ronquillo, and I won't highlight his comment, but I see it in the side chat, and he said New England Patriots fans are the worst. And what I want to tack on to that is, Michael, you're absolutely correct, because Patriots fans on Twitter are knocking the Broncos as fraudulent and a pretend team for their record and their winning streak. But yet, if you look at the Patriots record and their winning streak, they haven't played anyone of note this season. It's been the biggest cupcake schedule I've ever seen. So nothing's really changed, Ronk, in that sense, going from the Brady era to the May era. Patriots fans remain the worst.
No doubt. Good to see you. And shout out to the Ronk, a dear member and a longtime superstar. We also have Ted Wunderlich checking in on Super Chat.
Thank you, Ted.
Great to see you, Ted. And yes, thank you so much, big dog. He says, the Bo Nix slander is out of control. People formed a negative opinion on him in college, can't accept that he's actually good, so are working backwards to justify their original opinion. # let him hate, MHH for life. A lot of wisdom and insight there in what you're saying, Ted. It does have a lot to do with people's, in my opinion, unwillingness, Zack, to let go of an incorrect take. You know, like Bo Nix did get a lot of shade in the pre-draft process. Oh, he's not a first-round pick, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, of course, teaming him up with Sean Payton and then him hitting the ground running and having a historic, was it the best rookie quarterback season of all time? Technically, no, because that belongs to Justin Herbert, but it's the second best, and it's certainly the best in Broncos history. And then you fast forward to this season, and Yeah, maybe he hasn't been quite, Zach, as efficient as some of the other top tier quarterbacks on the top tier teams. But what he has that they do not, that clutch gene, man. And he just finds a way, makes a way when the chips are down. So, as you say there, Ted, let him hate.
You know, it's funny. If the Broncos win out, Ted, and they finish 15-2, Bo Nix will set the NFL record for most wins by a quarterback through his first 2 seasons. That record is currently held by Russell Wilson, who set the record with Seattle at 24. So they're going to be gunning for that. And among the 2024 class, Bo Nix is by far the winningest quarterback. Just to kind of dovetail on what Chad said there, because that's what we want with our franchise guy. The pomp and the flashy stats are nice, but at the end of the day, we want a guy who knows how to win. And Bo Nix knows how to win. But what you're saying there is true too. And the problem is a lot of these people, all they have to their name are their online takes and their online credibility. And they'll do anything to protect that. And if that means defending and twisting themselves into a mental pretzel to justify those takes, so be it. They'll never admit they're wrong because it's all they have. It's their fragile egos.
I like that. A mental pretzel. Whoa, we've got the Duchess jumping in. Michaela, a legend, a living legend, and one of the very first faces etched on the MHH Mount Rushmore. We love you. We appreciate you. Hope you've been well and hope you had a great Thanksgiving, Michaela. She says, hiya, fellas. What do you think our chances are of getting the number 1 seed? How many more games will we lose? So proud of Garrett Bolles. True inspiration. # Utah's blindside. Yeah, he does have a very similar story to Michael Orr's, as immortalized by the major motion picture, The Blind Side. But yes, indeed. Well, let's take a look at it real quick, Zach. We got the Raiders this week, which in any setting, you should never look past a divisional opponent. But I think, Zach, especially in the wake of what we saw in week 10, just don't look past the Raiders. They're getting their dander up for the Broncos for whatever reason. Then you come home, because this is a 2-game road trip. Then you come home, you play the Packers. Then it's the Chiefs on Christmas. Then it's the Chargers to close out. So what's your answer here for the Duchess on the chances? And not only that, Zach, but what is this team's final record when it's all said and done?
Man, I just talked about the Broncos potentially going 15-2 with Bo Nix being the winningest quarterback. I don't know about that. I do see a possibility of 14-3 and just dropping one more game through the stretch run here. But their chances are really good, Michaela. First of all, as always, thank you so much for your generosity. And I don't want to give a cop-out type answer, but if the Broncos play to their potential, like they did against Kansas City, then they'll lock up the 1 seed before the season finale.
I feel good about it. And just each and every game, the Broncos just keep finding ways to get it done. And it's hard to bet against a team like that. I kind of, and this might sound negative, but I promise I don't mean it that way. I kind of do want them to lose one more game. Now, would I want them to lose one more game at the expense of, say, getting the 1 seed? No, but I mean, the 97 Broncos went the whole distance to win it all, right? They played in the wild card divisional championship round and then the Super Bowl. And I don't know. I just feel like having that one setback to kind of go, okay, that's right. We are human. Crap can happen. Just to kind of not so much scare you straight, because that makes it sound like they haven't been on the straight and narrow, but just to kind of keep perspective. It might sound blasphemous. Now, if I'm going to choose, Zach, one of these final opponents for the Broncos to suffer such a setback, it would be the Packers because of the conference issues. They're not an AFC team.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I have a connection issue from my end, Chad. It looks like you're skipping a little bit, but Scott's telling me that I'm skipping, so I don't want to get into some rant if it's going to be all fuzzy. So let me know if you guys have any problems hearing me, and
you're looking and sounding better already. So FYI. So go ahead, man. You're sounding better. Anything you got for the Duchess?
No, I mean, what you said was true, that they can't take the Raiders lightly. They can't take any team lightly. The Raiders are going to want nothing more than to upset the Broncos season, prevent them from reaching the number 1 seed. It's also at their house. They're going to want revenge for the Broncos beating them at the Broncos' house. They cannot look past this game. But if they had to lose one, and I kind of agree with what you said there, we don't want them to go into a season or the playoffs on this big winning streak. But if they have to drop one, non-conference opponent, the Packers game.
But I think it's very good chances, Michaela, because if you also look at the New England Patriots remaining schedule, I see 2 losses. I see 2. I see them losing to Buffalo and Baltimore. And you never know because they are a young team. It could even go off the rails. Like one loss could throw them off. You don't know. Not to say that, Mike Vrabel's not an experienced head coach, but he's not as experienced, say, as Sean Payton. So it'll be interesting to see how it kind of coalesces. But it's really weird, and I love it, but it's really weird that we're sitting here in 2025 talking about the number 1 seed. No mention of the Chiefs. No mention of the Bills. No mention of the Ravens. I love that. But Michaela, thank you again, my friend, for your support. And it's really, really good to see you tonight. Guys, lots more that we're going to be getting to this evening. But first, listen, the holidays, it's all about finding that perfect gift. But this time of year, not every deal is actually what it seems because scammers are getting more creative to trick people into sharing their payment info through methods like fake shopping sites, giveaways, etc., that are too good to be true. But luckily, Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card so that you can act fast if something seems off. You can also lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app, super easy, for extra control and peace of mind. So stay one step ahead of the scams this season. Keep your money secure with Cash App.
And for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, just download Cash App and use our exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
All right. Back to the conversation we go, and we have another mythical legend. Goes way back, weighs in with authority. Here he is from the top rope, D-Dub, our dear friend Dale from Paradise, as you can kind of see in his YouTube profile pic. It's so good to see you, big dog. Thank you, D-Dub, for the support as always, man. Means the world to us. He says, great to make it live, MHH. A lot to love about the Broncos right now. Just a tough, gritty team. Now that we are 12 games in, we have Vegas, Green Bay. Oh, I forgot about the Jags. Duh. How did I forget that? Raiders, Green Bay, Jags, KC, Chargers. That's the order, right? 14. Yeah, that's right. I can't believe I forgot about the Jags. What do each of you see as our record in these last 5 games? People still don't take us serious. Broncos for life. Honestly, guys, there is that side of you, that part of you that wants the Broncos to get their glory and to be praised and all that stuff. But I like it the way it is. I think it serves the mission a little bit better for them to have such skepticism still in the national press. But here's what I'll say. It's going to be a win against the Raiders. It'll be a little bit ugly, but I think the Broncos make it a much more commanding victory this time around. I think they beat the Jags. I think they beat the Jags. I think they beat Green Bay. I think they lose to the Chiefs. And I think they beat the Chargers because it's at home. Closes out in Denver. Now, you ask me that, tomorrow or the next day, I might have a slightly different answer. I'm just telling you how I feel about it right this second, Zach. So what does that finish them at? Whatever, 14-3 is kind of how I see it unfolding.
Yeah, 13-4, 14-3 at worst here, Dale. And thank you so much for your generosity. First of all, thank you. Really appreciate that. I want to kind of discount the finale, though, against the Chargers because that game might not matter to the Broncos at all. They might rest their starters. So over the next 4, including the Kansas City game, the Christmas game, I think they go 3-1. And I have a bad feeling personally, I might be wrong, about the Green Bay game. They're playing really solid football on offense and defense. And I just don't know if they get by Vegas, they could be due for a loss, and that could be the loss there. At least it's out of conference, though.
Yeah, if you're going to pick a loss, you definitely would prefer it to be Green Bay, which is the only NFC opponent remaining on the schedule after they swept the NFC East. I'm trying to remember if there was any other. Were there any other NFC opponents? Doesn't matter anyway. But yes, the Broncos, and who knows? I mean, that's the Chiefs game. It's going to be tough to win. I do think that they're still going to find themselves in it. They're going to be battling. It's going to be a more important game to Kansas City in terms of playoff qualification, staying alive, etc., than it will be Denver. But the Broncos will have plenty to play for because that one seed I fully expect to still be in play because I do not see the Patriots weathering this final stretch when they come out of their bye without suffering at least one loss. So it'll be interesting. But D-Dub, love you, buddy. Thank you so much. And you always bring interesting questions and topics to the table, big dog. So thank you for contributing to the conversation as well. Taylor, a dear member, a superstar, checking in to say Zach Allen and Jones, DJ Jones, hurt. I'm concerned for Sunday. Zach, on the injury report today, Zach Allen did pop up as a DNP. What have you heard on that?
Him and Pat Bryant with a hamstring were added to the injury report today, and that's never a good sign because it means the injury was new or maybe suffered at practice or something like that. So we'll have to monitor that, Taylor, going into Sunday. Tomorrow's report will tell us all we need to know. If Zach Allen can get a limited practice in and Pat Bryant can get a limited practice in, and same for DJ Jones as well, they'll have a decent shot of suiting up Sunday. But fortunately, they're playing an opponent where some of these players they might not need in order to beat the Raiders.
It is kind of unusual for a player to pop up on a Thursday. And the only thing you can infer is that it happened either in practice or in the training room, right? So it's a little concerning, but I'm going to take the posture that Mike Kliss had earlier today on X relative to DJ Jones, which he said something to the effect of DJ Jones, a DNP again on Thursday, but don't count him out yet for Sunday. I'd be stunned unless all of a sudden we learn it's some severe injury, if Zach Allen, it could just be rest. The Broncos do that as well. I mean, they obviously listed it Zach as a calf, so it's not necessarily only rest, but it could be I tweaked it. It's like, let's not take any chances. Rest today. Tomorrow, glorified walkthrough on Friday, so you'll be good to go on Sunday. But it's definitely something we will be monitoring, big dog. Trust on that. B-Rad, good to see you, big dog. And I realized this last night after I was on with Luke on MHI, that your profile picture, because now that it's showing the handles, it confused me yesterday, and it was a different Brad, so I'm calling him B-Rad, but there's only one B-Rad, and it's you, dude, and I should have remembered the profile pic. So I seek your forgiveness on that front, big dog. But much love and respect. Great to see you tonight, especially. Thank you for being a member. He says, 2 things I can't decide on lately. Do we want the Texans to beat Kansas City, or do we hope we can be the ones to knock them out? The other is, I don't want the first round bye. Look what happened to the defense after that bye. MHH, Broncos for life. Fair points. Fair points on the bye thing. Like, in terms of the concern, that's a legit thing. But why don't the teams have that concern? Why don't teams worry about, we don't want to lose the momentum? They practically kill each other, Zach, down the stretch, vying for that first round bye in the playoffs. So if we're all worried about, do you really want them taking that week off? They're not. They don't see it as an obstacle for whatever reason, Zach.
First of all, thank you, Brad. Second of all, I don't think the situations are comparable. A regular season bye versus a first round bye in the postseason and allowing you to play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. And those 2 games would be going through your home stadium. So my opinion is we should want every Broncos fan to root for getting the 1 seed because that would be the easiest path to Santa Clara in February. The thing about the Kansas City Texans game, it's whoever you want to win. We don't have to worry about either team. The Broncos have the head-to-head against both teams. Kansas City is basically dead in the water. They're really fighting. They're the 10th seed right now. And the Texans, the Broncos already beat them too. So if it came down to it, I want Kansas City to lose as many games as possible. It gives me pleasure. So in that sense, I'm rooting for Houston.
I'm rooting for Houston fully because you just don't want to leave that door open. If, Mahomes is an all timer as much as it galls everybody. I think everybody at this point in Broncos country has come around to the realization that, he's going to be in Canton. He's one of the best to ever do it. You don't want to give guys like that an open window. If they can get buried further by Houston, by all means, please, Texans, do it. Pearl, sorry to hear that you had a tough day with your husband. She says, I hate Alzheimer's. I can't imagine what that's like. So all I can say to you, my friend, is thoughts and prayers. Anything we can do to support and help you out, you let us know. But we're sending good vibes in your direction.
Yeah, Pearl, you're in our thoughts always. Let us know anything we can do, and just know that we're thinking about you in this time.
Yeah, that's just such a tough deal. So David Yunkin, a dear member, checking in. Good to see you, pal. 20-9 as a starter and still not done with his second season. People hate what they don't understand. Talking about Bo Nix. That's pretty insane, dude. It's pretty rare for a quarterback to just hit the ground running in the NFL. I mean, we've seen it before, Zach, with players who come in and start putting up heck of stats. I mean, look at Jaden Daniels last year. It goes to show you, though, how rare it is to see a young quarterback in year 1 and 2 sustain that consistent level of success, because things happen in the league. Coaching changes, injuries, like you just never know. Again, look at Jaden Daniels. Everybody in the NFC title game last season would have fully expected the Commanders to be right back in it again this year, but the football fates had a different path. So appreciate Bo's accomplishments for what they are. He's obviously been very blessed, Zach, to land in the right situation with a head coach quarterback kind of partnership that was just one of the best fits possible. And then also being blessed with a generational, potentially, defense. These are a lot of assets that are feathers in the cap for any young quarterback.
Historically, there have been a lot of quarterbacks that had the counting stats, but not the championships. And I'm thinking of Dan Marino. Then there are the quarterbacks that had the championships, but not the counting stats, like a Terry Bradshaw, for example. I'll take a Terry Bradshaw. I don't care about the pomp. I don't care about the numbers. I care about the wins, and I care about the success. And in already 2 seasons, and Sean Payton deserves credit too, obviously, but they went from being irrelevant, being doormats, being a joke, to holding the 1 seed. And we're talking about the playoffs going through in Power Field. That's what I want. A quarterback that at the end of the day, no matter how ugly it can look, he will get you the dub.
Exactly. D-Dub jumping in again. Whoa, my brother, from the top rope.
Thank you,
man.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you, buddy. Seriously, you've done so much, and you continue to do so much for this community and in ways that not everybody always knows. So, dude, just know we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, dude. It says teams are going to go quick pass against us to try and limit our pass rush, just like KC and Washington did. But I also think we should be doing the same going into the postseason, softening up the back end and the rush lanes. Great to see, number one, Evan Ingram being impactful. That's for sure. I was starting to get a little bit worried about it. And I still am, not up at night worried, but like, come on, man. We need some production out of the Joker, who just got a pretty lucrative 2-year deal. But yes, KC was the first team to kind of go, okay, let's actually implement, Zach, like a get the ball out quick approach to attacking this defense. And it worked for the most part early on, but the Broncos eventually got theirs. It was way more successful, I would argue, with the Commanders. And I think a big reason for that was, once again, a much more intimate knowledge of the scheme and the coach and his tendencies on the part of Cliff Kingsbury. So that's an outlier that I don't think we're going to see. People have to, like the coaches that are going up against the Broncos game planning, they're going to have to try and figure out why and what Kingsbury was thinking on a given call, or why they attacked in this personnel, this and that, where he just knew, right? He just was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. But still, the principle, Zach, and then I'm serving it back to you here, of getting the ball out quick. That is obviously one of the only ways you can negate a pass rush as ferocious as this, that and running the ball. But then his point here is, I also think we should be doing the same going into the postseason, which I assume he means getting the ball out quick in the passing game.
Yeah, but then you're trying to open up the rushing lanes. First of all, again, thank you so much for your generosity, man. You are the best. You don't really have the running backs without Dobbins to take advantage necessarily of those rushing lanes. Harvey averaged under 3 yards a carry. The Broncos as a team averaged under 4 yards a carry against the Commanders, and that was a bottom 10 rushing defense. So in terms of the Broncos defense and how they can counter that, it's true it can negate the pass rush, but the good thing about the Broncos is their secondary is also elite. And the Commanders happen to catch him on a bad day. PS2, he even talked about knocking the rust off from his absence. He wasn't the elite corner that we're used to. Riley Moss was picked on. Brandon Jones was kind of exposed. 40-year-old Zach Ertz, the tight end from the Commanders, he had success. It was a letdown performance from the Broncos defense, but a type of letdown that I don't think we're going to see too much going forward. I think they're going to correct those things.
I hope so. I hope so. But I just want to see the Broncos. I mean, when's the last time have you seriously what I'm about to say? Can you remember watching a Bronco game with Bo and Sean Payton and going, "Oh my goodness," and hearing the guys, calling the game, going, "Boy, oh boy, the Broncos are getting the ball out quick," because that usually only comes out by way of an observation from a color commentary guy. If it's relatively consistent and sustained throughout a game, the Broncos, I mean, you don't have to go tempo, Zach, to get the ball out quick. Obviously, these are kind of two different things, but I think they can tie in together. I still want to see more tempo from the offense because that's where we've seen Bo Nix look his best, especially in year two. But yeah, that's something that as you get into the playoffs, one of the common denominators that most of these teams are going to have is a relatively competent pass rush. So Sean Payton will have he'll be ready for that. I'm confident.
Yeah, and I hope they can continue getting the ball in Evan Ingram's hand as you're talking about there. Dale, Sean Payton even admitted it's hard when you have different matchups and different things you want to do to feed everyone, but you see how impactful he's become now fully healthy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's something that I still think we've barely seen the Broncos scratch the surface on what's to come with Evan Ingram. And then also, for what it's worth, last night doing the show with Luke, man, he's like ridiculously high on RJ Harvey. And by ridiculously, I just mean like while some people are harboring misgivings over the lack of production. I mean, the touchdowns are great, don't get me wrong. And there's something to be said, Zach, for a running back who has kind of a nose for the end zone when you're in the red zone. But that production between the 20s is what obviously has people a little bit concerned. Luke, he's psyched on RJ Harvey, and it got me going, okay, yeah, got me a little bit more optimistic just by osmosis, Zach, about RJ Harvey moving forward. But the point I'm trying to make here, it's a little long-winded, going back to Dale again. Thank you, Dale. Is the Broncos need their stars and their studs now that we're hitting the stretch run, baby, to really show up and show out. Ingram and Harvey, two of those guys.
Yeah, we got George Fox chiming in. Thank you, George. This is the week we get rid of Kansas City after they lose and we win. Denver Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up, guys. Big reminder there. As always, George, thank you for audience. Hit those thumbs up. Really helps us out a lot.
Thanks, buddy. It's great to see you. And yeah, that victory the Broncos had a few weeks back over the Texans is sure looking a lot more impressive in hindsight, right? Even though, of course, they knocked Stroud out of the game, but the Texans were looking better. There was a lot of people in Texans land that were going, man, do we go back to CJ once he got healthy? Because that concussion that he suffered against the Broncos, unfortunately, lasted a long time. But anyway, Tucson Phil, good to see you, big dog, on Facebook. He says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. We have 22 players in 2026 becoming free agents. Of these, John Franklin Myers, J.K. Dobbins, Adam Troutman, Justin Sternad, Alex Singleton, who stays? Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Man, that's a tough one. I don't think JFM's going to be among them. I think if the Broncos were really trying to keep him around, he'd have been amongst that group, that trio that got extended over the bye. And we also heard Zach through I forget the insider report, but they didn't even approach him. So I think JFM is as good as gone. Dobbins, I think there's a good chance. Zach, there's still a good chance despite the injury. He was so impactful when he was healthy and such a good fit for the offense and the culture and all that. I do think they try and bring him back and just kind of roll with the injury punches with J.K. Dobbins for what it's worth, because he's still pretty young. Yes, it's another lower body injury, but he went into this season at 26. I forget exactly when his birthday is, but 20. He's in his age 26 season. I think they try and bring him back. Troutman, it's hard to say, Zach. He's a Sean Payton guy. I say let him go, but their decision probably comes down to on these last two guys, one or the other. That's my gut. And originally, Zach, I was saying they'll probably bring back Strnad because of the age thing, but man, Singleton's story and all that stuff, and like he's playing so much better since about week 5. I don't know what to think, honestly.
Yeah, I think they'll bring back one of Strnad and Singleton, and also don't forget about restricted free agency Jaquan McMillian. If I'm the Broncos, I'm thinking about extending him early.
No doubt, guys. All right, the time has come. Well, hold on one more time. Let me grab this from B-Rad, and then we'll do the head-to-head. It is that time to do Broncos versus Raiders. Jumping in again to say sorry for the confusion, guys. I followed the show on Facebook for a long time, but just recently became a subscriber. So this is I just did it again. So this is not B-Rad. This is Brad Murdoch. See, I'm so not used to the handles, man. I see Brad and I go B-Rad. But yes, I've recognized you, Brad, from the Facebook days, going back years, dude. Going back years. So that's how I remember you is as a Facebook guy. So thank you for being on YouTube with us, big dog. Thank you also for being a member, brother, and the support. It means the world. So go Broncos. Let's get the dub. But he just recently became a subscriber on YouTube. Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Go Broncos. Let's get the dub on Sunday. Thank you, Brad. And for all these years, dude, you've been with us. Clutch.
Yep. Thank you so much, Brad.
All right. Let's do the head-to-head here. I'll pull it up, and we'll take a look at how the Broncos and Raiders are matching up numbers-wise a couple of weeks past that week 10 head-to-head. So come on now. Sorry, I should have had this scrolled ready. Here we go. So real quick, green, top 10. Red means bottom 10. Black means somewhere in the middle. And as you can see here, the Broncos still are negative in the turnover margin. They're -3, which ties them for 19th, just like the Raiders. That is a statistic that they share. The Broncos coming out of the bye, their 2 resolutions were cut down on the penalties and figure out how to take the ball away more. They did get one last week against Washington, but they need to pick up the pace a little bit even still. But neither team is great in time of possession. The Raiders are absolutely one of the worst teams in holding on to the ball. The Broncos are kind of middle of the pack, but look at that. It's only a minute and a quarter that separates a mid-ranked team from one of the worst in time of possession. But we move to the offense here, and it's Sunday, bloody Sunday. It's all red pretty much for the Raiders. 30th in yards, 31st in points. They're averaging 15 per game. They're dead last in rushing, which is a little bit of a surprise because they drafted Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall. And then passing, they're 26. They've been picked off 14 times. Only, I guess, 2 teams are worse. Their one calling card is, I guess you could maybe say 2 here, but their one major is they've only had 3 lost fumbles, which ties them for the second fewest. But look at that, 17 total giveaways. That's bottom 10. They've given up 46 sacks, which ranks 31st. They are terrible, Zach, on third down, but they're semi-plausible, just barely outside the bottom 10 in the red zone. And then you look at the Broncos. Hey, man, 12th in yards, 13th in points per game. And let's not forget, just to remind everybody, they finished 10th scoring last season. So they're just outside of, that ranking now, but there's still time yet. But 14th in rushing, this number has continued to decline post Dobbins injury, so it's something to monitor. 14th as well, though, in passing. 9 picks, middle of the pack, but only 4 fumbles lost, puts them at tied for 6th fewest. 13 total giveaways, puts them barely outside the top 10 in terms of fewest. Sacks allowed, though, look at that, Zach. They went from 2nd and 3rd, going back and forth, to now the fewest sacks allowed in the NFL. And then third down, kind of right there in the middle of the pack, along with red zone. So your thoughts here on these 2 offenses?
If you watch the Raiders the last time these teams played or any games since then, you all know they're trash. Geno Smith is washed. He takes like 7 sacks every game. The Broncos should have no problem on defense, even if Zach Allen, God forbid, misses this one with his injury. The only thing about the Broncos offense, Chad, is I want them to get the third down and the red zone percentages up a little higher. That's my only real gripe. Everything else is to be expected with the development of this offense.
Yeah, third down, red zone, and they've been really good in the red zone. Actually, they've plummeted a little bit the last few weeks, but throughout most of the season, they've been up there in red zone. I'll tell you still, the statistic that concerns me most is the rushing thing. As this schedule begins to tighten and we get into the playoff territory, you got to be able to run the ball, and averaging under 4 yards per carry as a team and needing your quarterback to even make it plausible, that does concern me. But we look at the defense and the Raiders, guys. I mean, look, it's bad. Middle of the pack in terms of yardage, but they give up 26 points a game, which is 26th in the NFL. Rushing, middle of the pack. Passing, middle of the pack. Everything's pretty much middle of the pack till you get here. Despite having Max Crosby, they only have 23 sacks this season, which ties them for 25th. Third downs, they have a real hard time, do the Raiders, getting teams off the field on third down. They're better in the red zone, but these are some areas the Broncos will definitely be looking to exploit. And then defensively, Broncos, 5th in yards, 4th in points, 5th in rushing, 9th in passing. But still, that number of the interceptions is low. And I'll say it one last time. Maybe it won't be the last time, but I'll say it again. If Talanoa Hufanga managed to corral Zach even half the number of interceptions that have hit him in the hands, man, this number would be off the charts. 3 fumble recoveries only. So in the giveaways, this is not an elite defense, or takeaways, pardon. This is not an elite defense, which is why it's a point of emphasis. They're trying to turn that ship around, but they still lead the NFL in sacks, Zach. They lead the NFL in third down, and they lead the NFL in red zone. Wrap your brain around that.
It's kind of weird because the numbers look so bad for the Raiders, yet they really played up the last time these teams met. Chad, they held the Broncos to 10 points, and they seem to be flying around the football. They impress me, Pete Carroll's bunch. Whether they play up again, who knows? But we do know that the Broncos defense should be back to their elite level on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, they held the Broncos, I'm just reminding myself, to 220 total yards, and that game was in Denver. And it was famously, there were more combined penalties between the two than first downs. Like, that was the kind of game that it was, which is why the Broncos received so much blowback after that game. And they kind of what was a good word? Dispersed it, whatever, by defeating the Chiefs the way they did. And it's kind of been all downhill from there, but still got to improve. And really take advantage of these numbers here offensively. I mean, this Raiders defense, it's not terrible, but it's certainly not elite. Special teams, what do we got here? Broncos gross punting, 12th, net punting, 13th. And by the way, Jeremy Crawshaw, after the first week of fan voting in the Pro Bowl, is in the top 10 in votes. So, for whatever that's worth. 7th in punt return average. That's a Marvin Mims metric right there. 14th in covering punts, 26th in kickoff average. That's still something they haven't quite been able to figure out, Zach, the Broncos, since, with the new kickoff rules, basically. And this has only improved by, two spots? I mean, they were dead last in covering kickoffs. Now they're 30th. So FYI. And then you look over at the Raiders, 25th in punting, 29th in net punting, 28th in return average. I mean, their only calling card here, Zach, is they're in the top 10 in kickoff returns. Your thoughts?
It's almost like we told everyone in the preseason who were biting their fingernails over Crawshaw that he would turn out to be a weapon and a good punter. And so far, it's looking like that's the case. I thought, considering how clutch Lutz has been, that the percentage would be higher, but still really good.
No doubt. But remember, he had one blocked. Has he had 2 blocked? I don't know. So he's been really reliable, but they've gotten their paws on a couple. And then penalties, real quick. The Broncos, Zach, are no longer the worst in the NFL. By cutting their average in half, I did the math. They were going into last week's game against the Commanders. the Broncos were averaging about 9.5 penalties per game. They only had 5 against the Commanders. So they cut that basically in half, and look what it did. They bumped one spot already with just one game of improvement. But their opponents still are also amongst the most penalized in the NFL. I mean, third most penalties called on opponents. You look at the Raiders, they're not great in the penalty department, ranked 21st. But their opponents are also, Zach, getting penalized a lot here. But it's worth mentioning, one of those opponents was the Broncos in Week 10. So you don't know how much that kind of weighs things down. We know how much these refs, Zach, like calling penalties if the Broncos are on the field.
I'm doing some quick math just to be sure. 98 divided by 12, and the Broncos are still averaging over 8 penalties per game, and they have to reduce that number, Chad, going into the postseason.
No doubt about it. It's absolutely crucial. One last thing I just want to take a look at here over on the statistics. So, notable statistics, the Raiders are led by White. On the tackle front, the Broncos with Singleton. He'd be in this territory if he didn't miss that one game. Singleton would already be in triple digits for how many straight years has it been? Hufanga, though, someone said, look, it's great to see Hufanga being the weapon and stacking up all these tackles, but what does it really say about your defense if you have a safety that's either leading or second on the team in tackles? I don't get that. I mean, if you're paying attention to the games, that should be a non-issue, because the way they're deploying Hufanga and his instincts as a first responder, to quote Sean Payton, I mean, he's basically a dime backer in terms of how he's deployed. So kudos to him and Jones, both safeties right there in the top 3. Sacks, Crosby has 8. Bonitto's got 10.5. Coops got 7.5. Allen's got 6. Interceptions. I mean, Tillman still, Zach, entering week 14, leads the team with 2 interceptions. He's a rush linebacker. Meanwhile, Kelly has 3, leading the Raiders. Receiving yards, Bowers leads the Raiders. Sutton, who has, Zach, with 5 games left, a chance at 1,000 yards, but the ball's going to have to go his way pretty consistently for that to happen. And then you have Genty, who kind of has slowed down of late. I don't know what's going on there, but Dobbins obviously was well on his way to his first career 1,000-yard season before the injury. And then passing yardage, you can see the difference. Bo Nix, 2,742, and that ranks 13th, I want to say, going into week 14. Smith, 2,500. So there is your head-to-head. William Shaw, thank you, buddy, for the super chat and for being a member. No one, he says, is giving the Commanders enough credit for just playing well. Sometimes your opponent just plays well. Very accurate passes, beat good coverage. Well, and even Sean Payton, Zach, after the game was like, look, this is a good team. They've had some really bad injury luck. They were in the playoffs almost to the Super Bowl last year, more so than, hey, the other side gets paid too. He's trying to say this is actually a very good team. You point to the record, and it's really the injury misfortune.
I think everyone is giving them credit, or gave them credit, for playing well. No one expected Mariota to come out there and be their leading rusher and to down the field and lead what should have been a game-winning overtime drive. They played good enough to win until that final play. And it's true, football really is a game of inches, and the Broncos were just that much better.
No doubt. William, good to see you, pal. Thank you. George Fox, again, the Raiders always play us tight, but I think we changed that this week. I kind of have a feeling, too, that this isn't going to be quite as nail-biting and excruciating. Remember, we were calling that Thursday night game an UG fest, not a slug fest. I don't think it's gonna look like that this time around, in part because the Broncos have progressed, and also that they received so much blowback for playing down to the Raiders. I think they're going to have a little something for them. David of Dear Members saying, hi, Chad and Zach. Sorry I'm late. Have an infection from a TIPS procedure. Sorry to hear that, bro. Running a temperature. Also still had to cook the household dinner. Man, dad of the year. Good for you, brother. Is our wide receiver that we just got going to play Sunday? So the Broncos just signed to the practice squad, Elijah Moore. Zach, do you foresee them dressing him with only 3-4 days of time with the team?
Well, what just hit me is now Pat Bryant pops up on the injury report with the hamstring, and they just signed Elijah Moore out of nowhere. I don't know if the incidents are tied together, but if Pat Bryant doesn't play, maybe more dresses, but the way Sean Payton described the Moore edition was it was like he saw a piece of candy or a shiny toy come, he came across that and he had to pick it up. He had to collect that. And talented player who the Broncos had familiarity with, or they played against him, and now he's part of the practice squad.
Real quick, guys, we're about out of time because it's my fault tonight. I have to get to my son's basketball game. He's a senior this year, and trying not to miss too many of them. So I got to go here shortly, but I want to grab some shout outs here to Sue, a dear member. Good to see you in the chat. And then Pro 16 had a lot to say at the top. I'm trying to find one of his comments here. Yeah, this is interesting. Pro 16. Anyone else see the Kay Adams interview with Justin Simmons? It was really good. I don't often watch Kay Adams, but Zach, I did happen to watch this particular conversation today, in fact, and kind of interesting and bizarre that Justin Simmons, especially at his age, he's not that old, is still out of the league. Said he'd like to go play for the Houston Texans if possible, but yeah, I did see that.
I don't know. I think teams got the tape on Simmons and they realized that he's no longer the player that he was earlier in his career. He could still help out a contender, but I don't know if he's asking for more money or what's the deal. But Kay Adams was, serving court for him and saying that a team should sign him. And also Simmons said the big takeaway from the interview was Bo Nix works best under tempo. And if they continue just playing with tempo on offense, they'll continue seeing positive results. And to that, I agree with.
Shout out George, also throwing down as a member on YouTube. Really rad, dude. Shiloh, shout out. Let's go Broncos country. Looking forward to a methodical victory this weekend. Let's send Pete Carroll home jobless after this week. We shall see, man. We shall see. There have been rumblings. Mile High Dutchie. Hello, y'all. By the way, the initials from the New England Patriots form the word NEP. In Dutch, the word NEP means fake. Interesting. Thank you for that, my brother. And guys, don't leave quite yet. We got a few messages for you. Then we're going to take one last look at the chat.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important as always that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Much love and respect, guys. Thank you so much. It's a great conversation tonight. Time has flown by. I really apologize for being a little bit short tonight. Ronk, my son is a 6'7" with his shoes on, center. My dude dunks and all that stuff. So he's pretty good at what he does. So I'm going to go watch him tonight because don't know how many more of them left are in the books. So a Mile High salute, a special shout out to all the great Super Chat superstars, supporters, dear members, helping us keep the lights on, like the Papa Bear, like Ted Wonderlick, like the Duchess, love you, Michaela, like Taylor, like this is actual B-Rad by the nickname right there, B-Rad. David Yunkin, D-Dub, showing awesome generosity and support tonight. Thank you, brother. Tucson Phil, George Fox, Brad Murdoch. Thank you, pal. Great to have you. William Shaw. Appreciate each and every one of you. And Zach and I, of course, we will be back on Thursday for the gut reaction. Well, you'll see us sooner than that. You'll see us for the halftime stream. Remember, we're doing those again this year. But the full episode effect will be, of course, the gut reaction on Sunday. So that'll be fun. And then I'll see you guys for sure on Saturday for the members for Broncos Book Club. Can't wait.
Have a great rest of your Thursday. Great start to your weekend. We will see you Sunday for the halftime stream and gut reaction. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.